The NASCAR Cup Series heads to Iowa Speedway for only the second time ever. I am now joined by WinTheRace.info's Ryan Stevens, ready to talk a little stats and analytics ahead of the first short track race in quite some time for the NASCAR Cup Series. Ryan, before we get to that though, the regular season championship fight is heating up. Chase Elliott leads his teammate William Byron by only 4 points, Kyle Larson minus 15, Denny Hamlin's creeping into the picture only 20 points back. We know how important those extra bonus points can be come playoff time. Just ask Tyler Reddick last year, who struggled the first couple of rounds. With 4 regular season races to go, I want to ask you, Ryan, who do you think is in the best position to pick up the regular season title?
Man, it is so tough. Such a tight race here. I mean, every time I try to dive into this, I think it's between the 3 Hendricks drivers, and they're kind of all pretty equal, amongst 3 of the last 4 races remaining. If we look at Iowa, I'd probably have to give the edge to Larson, but Byron and Elliott both very strong here as well. And then we jump to the Glen. I'd probably look at them all as equals there. I don't know who would show up fastest, but I think they all have a great shot to, and I wouldn't be surprised if any of them finish top 5 or are contending for a win. You go to Richmond, I probably have to give a slight edge to Larson there. You get to Daytona, I'd probably give the edge to Byron, who's finished top 3 in 2 or 3 of the last 4 races. He's won 2 of them. But then you look at Chase Elliott and just how consistent he is. So if you forced me to pick today, I think I have to go Elliott simply because of his consistency, and there's just no duds. Over the last 15 races, he's the only driver in the Cup Series with an average finish in the single digits. He has 0 DNFs this entire season. And, one of my, ex-buddies, racing guy, Daniel Cespedes, who posts all this data on X, he said 5,511 laps have been run in the Cup Series this season. Chase Elliott has completed all but 1 of them. Wow. The only other times that's been achieved in 22 races were by Kurt Busch in 2016 and Chase Elliott last year. So just judging by his consistency, you just got to make it through 4 races. He's got to keep doing what he's doing, getting those points. I'd probably have to pick Chase Elliott right now.
Yeah, wow, that is crazy. That's not just been this year, but it's 2 years in a row. Chase Elliott and Alan Gustafson have continued to consistently deliver week in, week out. It may be hard to play offense, go out, win races, make up huge amounts of points, but it's easy to play defense when you're not making big mistakes. I would throw in a mention for Denny Hamlin. Denny's been hot lately. I know he's not great at Watkins Glen, but man, you gotta like Denny Hamlin to creep into a little closer into that picture. But I don't know, I guess the tide will turn for William Byron eventually. He's got to start finishing some of these races. Well, let's talk Iowa. First short track race again in months. The All-Star race was over 2 months ago. Christopher Bell beat Joey Logano. But if you want to go back to the last points race, and it was a slightly different aero package, would be Bristol in April. That race was dominated by Kyle Larson, who led over 400 laps. So how do we determine who the favorites are this week, Ryan? What kind of data, what are you looking at to try and make your picks this week?
We're really just looking at what we can, the races in this package this season. I know it's been a while ago, but we've had 3 races in this package this season, and I mean, Christopher Bell is Win the Race's favorite, and for good reason. At Phoenix, he wins. Martinsville finishes second. His teammate wins. All-Star race, he wins. It's a continuation, too, of what we saw in this short track package last year. He was number 1 in our true performance scores. 2 more wins last year on this track type. Fast lap percentage at 11.67%. That's the only driver in double digits in fast lap percentage in this package last year. He finished 4th in his first run in Iowa in the Cup Series, and he had to start at the rear last year. So he worked his way up, finished 4th. That's a great run. Before that, you look back in the Xfinity Series, he used to dominate here. Finished second, first, second in his last 4 there, and led a ton of laps in those races. So yeah, I think Bell is very strong, and he's our favorite to win the race to start the weekend.
Yeah, those are some very impressive recent numbers. It's just going to come down to, can he stay out of his own way? He's been a menace to himself and others the past couple of weeks with some of those mistakes, but they've had the speed, just got to seal the deal. This could be a great track for them. This could be a great track for Joe Gibbs Racing, it sounds like, although in the past we've historically looked at Team Penske as the great short track team. Like last year, Joey Logano Logano won the All-Star race. He won at Phoenix in the fall. Ryan Blaney is the defending Iowa winner. He also won Martinsville last year. Austin Cindric, remember, won Gateway. All similar, short, flat ovals, similar to Iowa. Do you think Penske could be the team to beat this weekend, or do Hendrick, do Gibbs, does somebody else have them covered?
Yeah, what's interesting is in my pre-practice and qualifying scores that I do personally, I had Blaney edging out Bell just by a little bit to be my number one for the week. But when we combine everything and we simmed it all out 20,000 times, we had Bell on top as winning, the majority of the races. I'd have to go with JGR just from what I mentioned earlier. This year I have him number one and number two in true performance in this package, number one and number two in incident adjusted speed. Mentioned Bell's, past dominance at Iowa and great run last year. And I'm talking about Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell, who have won the two races in this package this year, three if you count the All-Star race with Bell winning it. And it's been a while since we've seen him in this package, but it's hard to think Hamlin hits the track with a slow car again here. There could be some added motivation, like you mentioned earlier, only 20 points out from winning the regular season championship. That's got to be some, to give him some extra juice if they can. You get some extra notes from Bell, like I said, has been great here. And another twist, Chase Briscoe was one of the three drivers who tested the tires here back in June. So maybe you can get some notes from Briscoe too, fellow teammate there. And maybe Briscoe's live himself. He's been very strong everywhere we go lately. So yeah, I think JGR might have this one marked down as a strong point for him.
Great note about the tire test there as well, for sure. We have seen historically with this car, if you run the tire test at a given track, new tire combination, typically you run well come race day. But yeah, Joe Gibbs Racing passes the eye test. It's so interesting though, because last year, Team Penske, this time last year, Penske was sweeping up a lot of the short track wins, great top five runs, and obviously that paid dividends in the fall with Blaney and Logano 1-2 for the championship. They don't have that. They've not shown us that this year. Instead, like you said, it's been Joe Gibbs Racing in that place. With so many flat ovals in the playoffs, Gateway, New Hampshire, obviously Phoenix and Martinsville. Joe Gibbs Racing may be making a strong case to be a championship favorites. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We still got to make the playoffs first. There are several drivers, including a Joe Gibbs Racing entry, that are battling for the final remaining playoff spots. Right now, Alex Bowman and Chris Buescher are hanging on by a thread. Ryan Preece, Kyle Busch, and Ty Gibbs are the first three out, breathing down their necks. What driver beneath the cut line, Ryan, do you think has the best chance to make up a lot of points this weekend at Iowa?
Yeah, this will be fun to watch. I'd have to go with Ryan Preece for a few reasons. Those who have followed me for a while know I have my short track guys that I like to root for on tracks like this, and they seem to excel. Shout out to Lane Riggs for doing that at IRP last week. Win the race, had a great day that night. But Preece is one of those guys. He should be going out at the end of qualifying as well. That's proven to be an advantage all season long. Track position has proven to be a huge advantage on short tracks, especially in this Gen 7 car and in this package. And his teammates were good here last year. Brad, top 10 in both stages and race finish. Yeah. And that's not something we've typically seen from him in this short track package in the Gen 7 era. And then Buescher finished stage 2 and 7th, led some laps that race. His finish, I think, was in the teens. You look at Preece again this year, started 21st at Martinsville, raced his way up to 7th. Started near the rear at Phoenix, raced his way up to 15th. He won an Xfinity race here years ago, like we talked about with Bell. But now, going out late in qualifying, if he can put himself in a good position here to start the race, he doesn't have to race through the field. He just has to beat those guys up front or just stay there and surprise some people and get a lot of points. So I think Preece is definitely live to surprise some people this weekend.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I really like your Ryan Preece pick. We'll wrap up with this, Ryan, like we typically like to. Last season, there were a lot of flat tires in this race, which led to some major changes in the running order. Yes, Ryan Blaney won, and Kyle Larson led a bunch of laps, but there were some surprising names up near the front, like Josh Berry. I remember spent a lot of time near the front last year. Daniel Suarez, I think, finished inside the top 10. So when we look at underdogs, when we look at dark horse contenders this week, Ryan Preece was going to be my pick. I appreciate you sharing some more of the underlying data there, but yeah, I saw some of the same things. RFK Racing seemed pretty good here last year. Ryan Preece is a great short track racer, and yes, he has won an Xfinity Series race here years ago when he was making one of those rare one-off starts for Joe Gibbs Racing. So I like Preece to maybe make up some points on the cut line this weekend. If you had to pick a different dark horse, Ryan, I don't mean to put you on the spot, who would be your dark horse for a win or maybe just a top 10 this Sunday?
I think we'd be looking for like a top 10, and I'll go a little further off the beaten path, but someone who did finish top 10 here last year and surprised a lot of people, Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Yeah,
We mentioned old Xfinity stats here. Ricky once won 3 Iowa Xfinity races in a row,
yeah,
so
that's
a
right.
lot of experience here. We talked about having to be, comfortable at Iowa. This place has a lot of bumps. Races unique to the other short tracks that we go to. I think it's important to be comfortable here. And then when he was interviewed after that race, he said how he actually mentioned a smile came across his face because he was feeling so comfortable, and that he was able to take 2 tires when other teams maybe weren't feeling so, comfortable enough to do that. That helped him gain that track position, and he was just loving it all day. They did unload fast. He mentioned that too. So obviously that's a part of it. These teams are so close. You got to unload fast. But he started in the rear, had some strategy, was fast, worked his way up, comfortable all day. Fifth place finish for Ricky Stenhouse. So yeah, that's one I'm going to keep my eye on this weekend. He opened like 15-1 for a top 10. That was a great number. So yeah, give me Ricky Stenhouse to surprise some people this weekend.
It's a great pick. I should have mentioned him as well because, yes, he did finish top 5 in this race 1 year ago. Good stuff as always, Ryan. Looking forward to a great weekend of racing at Iowa Speedway. Fans watching at home, you can find more of Ryan's work at wintherace.info. Link is down in the description. And every Wednesday night, if you're watching this the day it comes out, tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Correct, Ryan?
Yes.
You guys do The Draft, a live show where you preview the upcoming race. We do you get a taste of Ryan's analytics and data here in this little preview. But tonight, Ryan, Phil, and Tino will go in depth and draft their lineups for the upcoming race. It's a great YouTube show, great time to hang out and preview the upcoming race. Ryan, we really appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you again soon, friend.
All right. Thank you very much. Enjoy the race this weekend.